So I must admit, I have been a long-time self-improver and workaholic. And although being that way has led me to my dream life, and I've accomplished so many goals, whether it's my YouTube, podcast, writing a book, changing my body, healing my mind, getting into better relationships, just creating a great life, it was not without some phases of my life of burning out. And on this journey, I've really had to pick up mindset shifts and even habits to allow me to not fall back into burnout and also heal from any of the times that I have really pushed myself into burnout. So I want this video to be things, in my personal opinion, that have helped me actually heal from burnout and or not move back into that. I feel like in my life right now, I am living a very balanced, healed life. This is not to say that things will not come up at times and I don't go back into my old ways of thinkings or small patterns that might overwhelm me a bit, but I am really at a place where I feel like my nervous system is like taking a deep breath, and even my mindset is just very peaceful right now. And even moving into the summer, if you're watching this in the summer, I am so interested in just moving more into less burnout and more living into that soft life and just healing and giving myself time to breathe and relax and just be here now. So if that is the phase that you were trying to be in, then this video is gonna be for you. And if you are new here, my name is Alicia Gogan. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. Every week, I'm just gonna be posting videos that will help us become the best versions of ourselves. Today's drink of choice, if you're not new, it's water again. We are really on our health grind today. And also, some of you guys had asked me where this water bottle is from. It's actually from a Cetaphil event. So I don't have the link, but I really want to get this water bottle without the branding because I don't know, I just think that it would be cuter, but I'm really obsessed with this. So I'm gonna be drinking this as we talk. So when it comes to burnout, I think the main thing you need to always keep in the forefront of your mind is this idea that you are constantly rushing life when you are burning yourself out. And you have to be so aware of when you are thinking things or doing habits that are this rushing energy, because that is really what burns us out. So something that I like to do when it comes to my weekly goals, and I'm saying this because I feel like most of us, we always have a habit we want to implement or a habit we're trying to build on or a goal we're trying to accomplish basically every single week. Like we get to the head of the week and we're like thinking about all the things that we want to do or have to do, etc. And to allow me to not be so overwhelmed and then just burn myself out by the end of the week is looking at every single week as a new layer and a new unfolding of something that I can go deeper in with my own self and to grow and evolve and work on. So I can give you an example. Let's say you are somebody who is wanting to live more of a healthy lifestyle. You want to eat cleaner and you want to go to the gym more. It is so much better on your nervous system and your mindset to expect that you probably are not going to show up 100%, and that is literally normal and it's okay. And the focus is to do one baby step at a time. Okay, can I go to the gym at least once this week? Can I eat one clean meal? But instead of the next week being like, okay, now I need to go twice and now I need to eat 2 clean meals, how about we just focus on really solidifying that one habit of going to the gym once a week and that one clean meal, and doing that for a while until you really feel like you're in this habit. I feel like a lot of us do not give ourselves enough time to actually implement and embody a habit before we go on to the next goal or the next thing, and that overwhelms us. And there's a lot of things that I'm always trying to work on basically every single week and even the weekend, like certain habits that I'm doing, etc. So anytime that I'm doing the habit that I'm currently trying to break, I'm just thinking to myself, this is normal. This is part of the process. You know what? This weekend, I did 10% less of the bad habit than I did the past 2 weekends, and that is good enough for me. I am not gonna get caught up on the fact that I am still doing this habit. It's actually very normal to continue to keep doing a habit you've been doing for so long instead of expecting yourself to just be completely rid of it. I promise you, it changes the game and it prevents you from burning out so much when you do that. The next thing that has really taken me a long time to master and get good at, because I think it involves you really being dynamic and adjusting to schedules and routines that can be very flexible or not, but that is to have daily cutoffs and daily rest times versus just looking at like one day out of your week to have that big rest day. And this is the thing, in theory, a Sunday rest day is great, or a Sunday reset, you know, or, oh, on Friday I'm gonna just not work, or whatever the case is depending on your schedule. And it's not to say that that can't work and that's not great. And I know everyone's life is different. I was working 3 jobs at one point, so I had very little time to rest. But I can even think about back then when it came to burnout, I really did my best, and I do my best even now. But what I understood about burnout and recovery essentially is our nervous systems, especially the ones who have been going in fight or flight because we've had to. Our nervous systems need continuous signals from our environments, our mindsets, our habits, everything, right? That it is okay to rest and we can come down from fight or flight. And how we do that is implementing small rest periods through our days. And this is basically how I look at it, is we can either go 7 days in fight or flight, constantly focusing on our goals, whether it's personal goals, it's work all the time, it's, you know, not getting the proper rest or eating well, and we can talk about all that, doing that consistently for 7 days, and then you have 1 day where you are resting, and most likely your brain is trained to not even actually be off on that day because you are still so much in fight or flight. That's not really gonna help you feel recovered. So if you feel like, oh, well, like I have a rest day on Sundays and I still don't feel recovered, it's probably because, for one, your nervous system needs so much more rest and so many more signals to calm down. And the way you do that is implementing things in your life like rest periods. So, I mean, obviously it depends on your lifestyle. This could simply just mean a few times out of your day, you're gonna go for a 10-minute walk, or you're gonna take a break from your phone, or if you work a 9 to 5, maybe only a few days out of the week, you're gonna be working on your side hustle, and then the other few days, you're genuinely just gonna allow yourself to rest and take your mind off of the thing that you've been working on. And for me, I have things I can always be doing, projects to be working on, things to be editing, whether it's for my podcast or for this YouTube channel. And what I used to do is I would record this video like I am today. It's Saturday right now at 1:20, and then as soon as it's done, in my head I'm like, okay, well, I have more work to do, I can edit this, so let me edit it right now. And it was a constant stream of working and keeping my mind on work, and I was never really resting because as soon as the video was done, I'm like, okay, on to the next thing. Versus now what I do is I am always having a cutoff, and I don't even mean like it's a specific time, because sometimes life is too complicated to be like, oh, okay, like every day you need to cut off at 5 p.m. Like sometimes like that doesn't even work for me half the time. But for me, it's kind of like, okay, I did a chunk of work right here. I'm leaving it till tomorrow, or I'm leaving it till Monday, and I'm not going to stress myself out about that. Which leads me to the next thing that is a mindset shift that really helps me with that tip, is just because I can do it doesn't mean I have to do it. And I think for a lot of us, self-improvers, the ones who are workaholics, the ones who are high achievers, we are capable of doing a lot, but that doesn't mean that we have to constantly be on, right? Just because I work for myself and I have the time tonight to either choose to go for a walk with my dog, or go out and dilly-dally for a little bit because it's a Saturday, or work, I don't always have to work. And yes, there's gonna be a period of your life where maybe you are grinding more, but still, if you are somebody who's burnt out, you need to understand that it's so important that you rest and you give yourself a moment to breathe, because you are inevitably going to be more successful when you give yourself the proper rest you need. When you are burnt out, half the time you're not thinking clearly, half the time you have anxiety, half the time you are taking action from this very scarcity, anxiety-ridden place that sometimes it's not the best for you. Another thing that's really helped me go from stressed and burnt out to more relaxed and feeling like at peace with right now is giving myself longer time frames for goals that I have for the year. Again, coming from a place of understanding that we will always probably want to be hitting goals and be productive. I don't think that us type of people, like, we need to even try and like move into this life where we're not doing anything with our lives. I think that we are the chosen ones in a way. I know that sounds kind of like a little woo-woo, but I do think that a lot of us, like, we are here and we are on a mission, and that is fine. But we do need to protect ourselves, our nervous systems, our mindsets, and things like that, and we really need to live our lives. And what's really helped me be more at ease is giving myself some time when it comes to my goals, so I don't feel so stressed out, like I need to hit the ground running every single week. I need to get this goal out, I need to get this project done, I need to. And I know it can be hard when you really have a vision and you want something so badly, but I think about even when I grew my YouTube channel and my podcast, I leaned more on having faith in myself and belief that it was going to happen when it was going to happen, and really just focusing on the process and the content that I was actually wanting to put out into the world, instead of just being so tied down to timelines. And I know sometimes we need timelines and we need cutoff times and things like that, but I think for a lot of things that we're working towards, we put these timelines on ourselves as if like we only got 2 more years to live. And listen, who knows, right? Like tomorrow is not promised. But the way that I like to look at it is I have a very long life. I do not need to have all of the money, all of the success, all of the perfect friendships, the perfect relationship, the perfect this, the perfect body, the perfect da-da-da, all right now. Because also then what would be the point of life if we had everything right now perfectly done to a T, right? So just relax. Give yourself a few extra months to hit certain goals in your life. Start setting your goals in quarters of the year if you want, or 6-month time frames instead of like 1 month or 2 months if you keep doing it and you find that you're not even hitting those goals anyways. And coming back to that first tip, I think it actually sometimes, sorry to say, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer than we think to hit goals and to accomplish things, and that's fine, okay? So give yourself that time to really embody the person that you want to become and the things that you want to be successful in. Which leads me into the next thing, which is basically just like a way of life and trying to lean more into, which is embodiment. And embodiment can be a lot of things, but the way I like to think about embodiment in the sense of like working and self-improving is you really want to actually digest information and go and live it out and be in practice in these things before you go on to the next thing. I think for a lot of people who are self-improvers, it's let's get the next book and the next book and the next podcast, and let me read this thing and let me try this challenge and that thing and this new diet. But you haven't even been consistent on that one thing for long enough to even see results, or even long enough for you to actually really let information digest within your brain and for you to actually live out these things. Embodiment can also be being in your body and going out and moving with the day, right? Instead of being in your head all of the time. And the more times you do these things, you're resting your nervous system. You're gonna be less stressed and not burnt out when you are sticking to a book until it is finished completely, and maybe you're studying that book and studying the information in it, and maybe you're applying certain things and you're seeing what's working and what's not, and then you go, I don't know, and I'm kind of talking more about like information and self-development books, but you know, you go like a month or two and now maybe you're onto a new topic that's different than even like a diet. Like you shouldn't be switching through diets all the time. You shouldn't be switching through different philosophies and concepts every month. And it's great to learn new things, but at the end of the day, you need to give yourself a moment to actually digest these things and be an embodiment. And when you see people who you can tell are very wise and have so much knowledge about something, it's because they've lived it, they've experienced it, they've gone through it, and they know what it is like, and they've probably spent a lot of time doing that thing over and over and over again. And you can say the same thing about anyone who is successful. They've been doing this work consistently for so long, longer than you've even probably seen them do it. There's a lot of you guys who've been watching me on my journey for many years, and I get acknowledgement about that. But there might be somebody who just sees this video now and doesn't even know maybe the type of work that I've had to put in for any of my socials, but in general, the amount of hardship and all of the things that I've had to go through to be able to speak on certain topics. Another thing that's really helped me not burn out and really heal from burnout, and this is more particular to women, and that is learning about cycle syncing, learning about your cycle and moving in the rhythm of your hormonal cycle. Also just understanding that life is cyclical and seasons, even if you don't live in like a 4-season, place in the world, everything changes and evolves and goes through cycles over and over again. And I think when you start to move with nature and you move with your hormonal clock, your body just thrives. Like you end up just really being able to rest when you need to and output when you need to. And I am gonna make a new updated video on cycle syncing, but for anyone who doesn't know, it's basically understanding that you have 4 phases that you go through as a woman on your cycle if you're not on hormonal birth control, if you're not in premenopause or pregnant, or like maybe you have an irregular period. Doesn't mean that this is not good information for you to know, by the way, and there's many ways in which you can still work with your cycle if it's irregular and things like that. And I think it's so important for people who are struggling a lot with their menstrual cycles, because a lot of that can be from a lot of stressors, living in fight or flight, things like that. But you basically have 4 phases. So your menstrual cycle is when you're actually like bleeding, you know, your first day of your period. And then you go into your follicular phase. Sometimes people will put those 2 phases together. So they basically consider your follicular phase right after you bleed, like when you're done bleeding, as your menstrual phase. But I just look at it as 4 phases. I actually look at your menstrual phase as your winter phase, and then follicular is your spring, because you're kind of like awakening more. Your hormones are kind of coming back up from being very low. And then you go into your ovulation phase, and typically we have the most energy around this phase. This is the only time you can actually conceive around this phase as well. This is also where our body releases testosterone for women, and that is why we also feel so energized and like productive for the most part. And again, everyone's cycle is different. Like it's not like black and white, super cookie cutter. And then we go into our luteal phase, and that lasts about 2 weeks. So maybe the first week you might not feel anything crazy, but that last week before you go into your bleed again, that's where you might experience PMS symptoms, our moods are changing, we're hungry more, we're a little bit sleepy, things like that. And when you start tracking your cycle and know where you're at in your cycle, you can support your body through movement, through eating, through rest, all of those things, and that will allow us to feel better as women. It will allow us to be more productive when we actually have that capacity, and we'll be able to slow it down when our bodies need it. And for me personally, I have been the most productive and the most well-balanced mood, body-wise, even hormonally, I have ever been since I started cycle syncing, which was a few years ago by now. And I've been off birth control for many years, probably like over like 10 years now. But that has not only helped me in terms of like hormonally and just being more healthy, but it's really allowed me to rest and not push myself, because I just know this is how my body works. It needs rest. I cannot deny the fact that sometimes I need rest, especially when I'm on my period. And I know it's difficult sometimes because we live in a society where it tends to favor males' hormonal clocks, which is a 24-hour clock, but I digress. We won't get too much into it, but that has helped me so much when it comes to burning out. Another thing that I've struggled with for a long time in my life is having harsh rules and restrictions and leaning way too much into discipline, which then just stresses me out more. And I feel like a lot of us in this culture are constantly always trying to figure out how to balance life and how to not be too strict and not hate our routines and hate everything, but also, you know, be motivated to actually take care of ourselves and eat well and things like that. And a rule for me that I have in my life now is to actually not have and not tie myself down to any hard and fast rules or restrictions or routines, knowing that life is cyclical, I am cyclical, and I do not need to stress myself out by tying myself to things so rigidly. I have also found that the more times I'm restricting myself and I'm putting hard rules and routines onto my life, I will always sabotage, and I will feel so overwhelmed that I will then do behaviors that I wouldn't even do if I didn't have such hard, strict rules. I've gone through a lengthy journey of just trying to figure out what works for me, and I think that that is a journey for all of us. But I think learning to cycle sync, understanding that life is cyclical in nature, understanding that our nervous systems need a lot of signals all day, basically. I'm not saying you always have to be like perfect and regulating your nervous system all the time. That's not real life, realistically. But doing your best to support yourself the best way you can is so important, which means not every day you're gonna be able to abide by a rule of stopping work at 5 p.m. or no phone in your bed after 9 p.m. Maybe for a season of your life that could work, or maybe a few days out of the week, that's great. But when you start to say every day for the rest of my life, look at what happens. Look at what you do. It just makes life boring, it makes it difficult, it makes it harder than it needs to be. And I always find I am more motivated and I naturally go into the direction of the decisions and the habits and the mindset shifts that really help me stay healthy all on my own. I don't need to be a dictator over my life the way my father was. And I'm saying that because a lot of the times when we are very, very strict and hard on ourselves, it was from past conditioning or people around us, or, you know, there's a lot on the line, or we think there's a lot on the line. And so really understanding the stories that you're telling yourself and why you do such strict, hard things and where this is coming from is so huge. I wrote a lot about this in my book, The Ultimate Glow Up Guide, which I will link down below if you are curious or interested in why you do self-sabotaging behaviors. I talk about my relationship with food and fitness, and I talk about chronic illness and all of these things and going on a healing journey with that. But I've just learned over my almost 30 years of living that there's never gonna be this perfect routine, and my routines are always gonna need to change, and that's okay. And more flexibility is perfect for me because I thrive with flexibility. I actually do. When you give yourself some more freedom, sometimes it's hard to trust yourself, and I get those phases, you know, like especially when you're trying to heal your relationship with food, and people are saying, oh, just intuitively eat. I understand that it's not sometimes as easy as doing that, but then you do get to a point where you actually can intuitively eat and you can trust yourself and you show yourself as possible that I don't need to be super strict on myself to naturally want to take care of myself. And I am the healthiest I've ever been, and I no longer have this unhealthy relationship with food or even fitness or routines. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I definitely am not the way that I was before. And it's not from having rigid rules. It's not by abiding by any sort of one philosophy. Even when it comes to like cycle syncing, I don't like live and die by cycle syncing. I understand that I have a cycle. I do my best to support my hormones and this, that, but not every single month is the same. It's not on the forefront of my mind every single day. I don't obsess about it. So anyways, that was also another video that I wanted to make potentially, is the things that allowed me to actually heal my relationship with food. So let me know down below if you'd like an updated video on that as well. Another thing that I've been trying to lean on, at least in this phase of my life, like I said, every phase of our lives are just gonna be different and require different routines and things like that, but leaning into slower mornings. And I am somebody who has a lot of things that I want to accomplish. And even though I work for myself, I don't really like to spend hours and hours doing a slow morning routine, soft life girl era and like influencer life, you know, I can do a 10-step this and that. No, but I do like to give myself maybe a few times out of the week to have a little bit more time to journal in the morning, or I'm gonna just scroll on Pinterest for like 10 minutes and, you know, get the juices flowing and just like get excited about life. Or not every single morning I'm gonna hit the ground running at 6 a.m. and go for a super hard workout. And so week after week, I just try to find those pockets of times where I can have a slower morning and really enjoy that. And I find when I do that, I do find myself craving, okay, tomorrow morning, I want to hit the ground running and I want to get really productive in the morning. And I let myself, I follow that energy. But then there's other times where my body's saying, no, I need to rest, I need to relax, I need to have that slow morning, and I'm not going to feel guilty about that. And this even goes for like having a nap sometimes. If you need a freaking nap, take a nap, okay? You don't need to get all of your things done all the time, every day of your life. You can just take a nap if you have the time. Now, the last thing that I think really has helped me through any phase of burnout and healing is really working on those habits that deplete me. So that is not eating well, not sleeping well, falling into any vices that will then affect your sleep or affect the way that you're eating or showing up for yourself or messing with your mood. Right now in my life, I'm really trying to focus on my sleep. Sleep has been so huge for me. And I think sometimes we get so numb to the fact of the matter that our diets or our sleep patterns or our addiction to our phones or addiction to vices, you know, drinking, smoking, partying, whatever, even like being in toxic relationships, like how detrimental these things are actually making it for us to feel better about our lives and not feel so burnt out. Sometimes it's not the fact that you're being too productive. Sometimes it's the fact that you're in a situationship for a year and you're on edge every single day because you're in a situationship. Or sometimes it's the fact that you are just not getting enough hours of sleep in the night. Or simply that you're over consuming sugar and junk throughout your days and your weeks. You're not eating from home. You're not eating higher protein meals, fiber rich meals, food that will actually serve you and really give you that energy. So really taking a look at your diet, your sleep, your relationships, everything, and seeing like what are those big culprits that might actually be playing a bigger role than I even think in my mood and my energy levels, or making it just difficult for me to even be productive on the days that I want to be productive and to rest on the days that I want to rest. Now, the last thing I will say is to really think about the things that calm you uniquely. And I posted a Pinterest quote on the community tab in regards to chasing slow dopamine, and it just listed out a bunch of things that you could probably feel in your nervous system that would make you feel calm, like writing and gardening and doing one thing at a time and working on a long-term goal instead of like short, quick spurts of things, but really just taking inventory or going on an exploration even this summer or this season of your life as to what makes you feel more at ease outside of the self-improving and the working all the time and the goals. And for me, it's going out into nature, doing lots of walks, doing my cleaning routines, meal prepping and eating in silence, not listening to anything as I'm doing things, making sure that my space is clean by doing little night shifts. Every night before I go to sleep, I take about 15 minutes. I make sure my dishes are done, make sure my place is a little bit organized so I don't feel overwhelmed that I have to do everything on one day. And it also gives me this routine and a rhythm of like, I'm getting into bed now and like, you know, I'm turning off the lights and I'm just calming myself down and just doing these things from a place of really being here in the present moment. I've also been drinking less coffee. I've been allowing myself to nap when I need to. I've been letting go of things that do not serve me, whether it's things for content or even friendships. I'm taking some time off of social media. I'm just doing my best to lean more into those things than to the things that actually drain me. So I hope this video helped in some way. I'm sure there's a lot more things that have helped me on my journey, but like I said, I have mentioned a few other video topics in this video that I would love to create. So let me know in the comments if you would like me to create any of those videos. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.